I'm going to throw us on mute.
Okay. I did. Got that big vacuum going. I'm glad we're not down there. What's his name? Ishmael. Not until it comes on. Sometimes you can adjust things. Mm-hmm. BJ must be having trouble. It said BJ Birdbloom's meeting, so it was the right one. Start in a few seconds, it says. I'm glad we're not down there. This pillow is not very comfortable. I'm just going to set it over here. Yeah, sometimes you can see yourself on here.
Hello?
I'm here.
Hi, is this Ray?
Yes, it is.
Okay, who
All
else
set.
do we have? Who else is here? Or is it just we're two, Ray and us? Okay. All right.
Hey, Edie,
Yep.
it's John and Stephen also.
John and Steve Calcagni?
That's correct.
Okay,
Hi, Edie.
thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we're just going to listen in, if you don't mind.
Yep, okay.
This hasn't changed, has it?
No, it hasn't. It is 7:05, and we're going to call the meeting to order. I'm wondering
Take notes.
if we can get someone to take notes, yeah.
Yeah, you want to do it, Howard? Yeah.
Okay, so Howard will take notes. Can we get a motion for approving the minutes from March? That's how long it's been, so.
Second?
Okay. Okay, so we really have a fairly brief set of agenda here.
Vote on those.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes? Okay.
Aye.
I didn't have any.
Okay.
Yep, no comments.
All right. So Ray has actually got another meeting going on at the same time, so he's called in. So, and I think we've got 5 people out of 7, so we're doing pretty good. All right. And Mike Ryder may call in. I'm not sure if he's calling in or not. So today we're just mainly going to be talking about the new overlay district that we sent out the documents for. And as we all know, this is a new version of what we were doing to try and get the Halls Road master plan in working order in terms of any property owners. And the overlay district is set up to be a much more flexible situation. It is not set up to be an only thing. The C30S will continue to be on Halls Road, and this will be an overlay which you can choose or not choose to use if you want to do any development on your property. So we're hoping that this is a much more flexible document. We've worked pretty hard on this, and actually my partner Mark Terwilliger is here, who also helped write this. So he's.
Can we ask Ray to mute anyone on the phone to mute a little bit? There's some background noise.
I got it.
Can people on the phone just mute unless they have something to bring up? Thank you.
Is there a way for them to mute it?
No, they can mute it on their end.
Okay, they can mute it on their end.
Okay. Yeah, on their end.
Okay, sorry. So I'm hoping that you guys have read this, and if you had any questions, I think we should just dive right in unless you have more intro you want here.
Has this been presented to any property owners? I can't remember how far.
Yes, we did 2 Zoom meetings.
But with the overlay?
It was not the final version we've got here today.
But it was overlay versus?
Yes, definitely the overlay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We had 2 Zoom presentations back in February.
Okay.
And most of it is the same. There's some details that we have introduced something called a qualifying project. So this is a way of understanding what you need to do if you want to use Halls Road. We're trying to make this so the property owner can get this information in a simpler way. It was a fairly lengthy document before, and now I believe it's about 11 pages long. So it should be able to get right down to the meat of the matter and,
more
and understanding.
Yeah. So, and because I read through everything, and it looked like what we had seen before was kind of the summary, which was the side-by-side.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. Here's C30S, here's the overlay district.
Yep.
Choose one path or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it does seem like the document has captured, and I didn't see anything additional or strange, from what we last had seen. So that's good, and this is a lot of hard work to turn that kind of conceptual framework into words and legal documents. Yeah.
And I think one of the main differences is that in terms of where we might have been in February is we realized in order to make the master plan come to life, we needed to require that this qualifying project meant you had to build along Halls Road first, and if you wanted to build any other kinds of mixed use or other commercial beyond that frontage, you had to do the work on the Halls Road first. That way it ensures that the master plan is being instituted by creating a shoppable street. It is commercial along the frontage, which means, it's not just retail. It can be restaurants. It can be, public-facing businesses. We're hoping not to have things like businesses that don't ever open to the public. And there can be entryways into upstairs apartments or apartments in the back of the building, but no homes right on the front of Halls Road. Again, we're trying to make something that's a browsable, walkable type of town center. So, I think that's the gist of it. We will be meeting with the Zoning Commission on Monday, and we'll have Jeff from BSC and Bill Sweeney there. We're going for an informational meeting, so the thought was, let's make sure you guys have all seen this, understand what it is, and,
Is that a regular zoning meeting?
The meeting is at 6:30
That's a regular
on Monday. Yeah, it's a regular meeting. Yep. So we wanted to make sure that, where did I have this? That we have a general consensus to proceed with this, and if there are any major changes we need to make, of course, we would amend this document and send it back around the committee, but for the most part, we're hoping we can get through this and move it forward, so.
So sequencing-wise, so we also do have the design guidelines, which
Yes.
we did not have in February for the property owner
That's right.
meetings.
Yeah.
So those have been revised.
Yes, we had Bill look at those, and he's definitely going to talk to that too in the meeting with the.
And so what are you envisioning sequencing-wise from here? So if tonight we're in agreement, we say we'd like to move this forward, and the right way to do it is through the Board of Selectmen as well, who are going to get a chance to see it.
Yep.
But I do think that whether it's informal or formal, making sure that now that we've got the actual document, it's draft, it's not final, but that the property owners get a chance to take a look at it, and a couple articles in Limelight or CT Examiner, it's online, that sort of thing would be great. And then people can't say, hey, you didn't give us a chance to look at it, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and what Bill Sweeney, the lawyer, was suggesting was you should really pass it by zoning before we do the application to make sure that they understand what's coming, that if they see any major red flags, we can address that before we send it in.
Yeah.
Because it's really a yes or no with them once we get it going. So, and then I did send everything I sent to you guys, also went to the whole Board of Selectmen, so they've had an opportunity to look at it. I don't know that they have, but it is available to them, and I think once we talk with zoning, then we would be able to make some decisions on whether we're ready to.
And again, the concept hasn't changed. It's either or.
That's
so
right.
People who
That's
are
right.
currently owners can do as they would have under C30S.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
So, and how did you read through the design guidelines? Did those
I flipped through those. I didn't go as.
I mean, the thing that Bill said that he thought was the most valuable was there's some examples in the back of things that we don't find acceptable. And, those are the things that...
A picture's worth 1,000
Yeah,
words.
he said, that's really helpful. You can see what people will or won't be interested in.
Yeah, I mean, you get into that sort of thing. And again, there are guidelines, so for the group to approve, and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, ultimately, it's the zoning commission that has a say of what gets approved. But we give them... And they actually had said in several meetings, 2 years ago, they said, we have no way of knowing when people come to us to submit for a permit, what we should say is right or wrong with their architecture. So they really don't have that expertise there. So having the guidelines helps us and helps them to make their decisions and feel like they've made a decision they can.
Since one of the members is an architect too, so it gives them the expertise that they may not have.
Right. Yeah, now that also got revised though, there's not a requirement.
We're requiring we have at least one registered Connecticut architect. Architect registered in Connecticut.
Right.
And there's up to 3 people on it.
For what is that for, Edie? I'm sorry, I missed that.
There's, for the design guideline committee,
Yeah, because
That was my question too. When it goes, so on Monday, you're bringing packets and bringing it all to every zoning member. And then they're reviewing it. It's coming back to us, going back to...
maybe if there's comment.
So we'll review it with them. We'll let you know what we hear from them, or you can come to the meeting if you like. Those are long meetings, but, and then based on their comments, we'll either revise it or write back to you guys and say, hey, this seems like we're pretty close to going, and, you know, we'll bring it to the selectmen. If they approve it, then it's a matter of the town submitting the application.
Okay. So if I own property on Halls Road, a lot that I want to build like a cat center or something, I have to have my architect and all of my plans and everything, and then I'm submitting it not to zoning, but to a review board?
No, you're just bringing it to zoning, and zoning actually often, the CEO would prefer that you come and talk to him before you even put together something and say what you're building, and say, you know, if you want to submit some drawing ideas before your application, we can get the committee to review that first with any suggestions.
And the committee's one of us or a architect?
It will be 3 people, so we haven't got that committee together yet. I have talked to one architect, but again, they're like, well, if I have to come to a meeting every month, I don't know if I want to do that.
Right.
But I don't see that we have that many properties that we're going to be doing that every month. So
Yeah, that's probably true, but that's what we had talked about, because the requirement, and I didn't review that because I thought it had been revised a little bit, but the requirement that there's an architect as one of the 3 members, we may not have one available, so maybe there's some more flexibility that somebody could bring up. I'm not going to deal with it now tonight, but maybe it's there are a few architects in the area that would be able to review them for the committee itself. So if the committee didn't have a requirement to have an architect on it, if we couldn't find one who was willing to do it.
I mean, it also says in the document that not in the guidelines, but in the actual document, it says if no one has responded from the committee about whether they like this or not, it just gets passed through anyway. So say your design is fantastic and there's no need to meet with an architect and everyone agrees it looks good, then that's another option. So I think there's flexibility. I feel like not having a real architect on it is counterproductive.
But what I'm suggesting is not requiring it on the committee, but requiring at least a review by an architect that's agreed to do it, that sort of thing. Yeah. So you still, to your point, you have it reviewed by an architect.
Okay, so it has to
hopefully
have...
is respectful of the town and that sort of thing.
And we just have
I mean, I'm not...
architects or something, a few, just in case you have to...
There are...
With availability.
As long as we know an architect has to look at it, that's really a problem.
And that's my recollection of the last conversation that we had, is that to eliminate that need for having them on the committee, but the review requirement still exists in some manner, and so let's leave it in.
I think that's something that could be adjusted.
And they can always be
as long as there's, you know, some kind of professional, because there's also good and bad architects. I mean, some architects are not really that aware of, you know, the basic elements of style, you know, so that's something we want to make sure. I mean, there's no sense in having guidelines if you don't have people. I mean, I think the other...
Then the question is, okay, there's somebody who's appointed and maybe they stink as an architect, but you're stuck with them for 4 years or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think that's why you have to whoever you use, whether to use them on the committee or off the committee. You got to make sure.
But if there's a pool of like 3 or 4 folks.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
So just an alternative to that, because what we don't want to do, your point is a good point. Hey, if these guys can't get their act together and you haven't heard from them in 90 days or 60 days or whatever it is, shame on them. And you get to do something ugly, and that's bad. That's on them.
Yeah.
So maybe what we do tonight for formal action, did you have something in mind for formal action?
Well, I really just wanted to make sure we had a general consensus to proceed. And I think, I mean, that's my suggestion. That's what Bill Sweeney has suggested too. But if you think we can vote on it today with the caveat that we're going to see any changes coming up, that's another way to go with it, I guess.
Well, maybe to make it a little bit formal, if the idea is we have consensus here, maybe not, but let's assume that we do. Then the idea is there's an informal presentation to the zoning board on Monday, right? So maybe there's a vote from our ad hoc committee, Halls Road Improvement Committee, to agree to send the current draft to the zoning board for an informal review or something like that. So it kind of maybe memorializes.
As of today.
As of today.
Even though we're already scheduled, we can make it an.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So, but we agree to send this. These two documents to them. And that would convey the kind of consensus that you were looking for.
So, and they're probably going to ask, because the board, I mean, typically they vote.
That's right.
In the past, they've asked did the committee vote on this?
Okay.
The Board of Selectmen did that, and zoning asked that too last time.
So I'll move.
Wait, can I ask, I have a question.
Okay.
Where do we stand with grants regarding sidewalk lighting? And
so the public improvements is what you're asking about. So why don't we do this motion? That has nothing to do with this, really, unless you think it does somehow. I mean, the public improvements are all based on needing to get grants, which I can talk to you about that. So we do have the BSC pulling together the lock-zip. I'm hoping to see something this coming week.
Okay.
We had also sent in a grant application for the ARPA monies from the town.
Okay.
But I am really worried that we don't have anybody on this committee that can run these grants. I think in the past Bonnie must have had someone doing grants for her, because I don't have anyone to do that.
Well, these are more detailed grants too. Right. And Mary Jo did a lot of work on the one detailed grant that we got for Sound View for the repaving of the road that took some time. A lot of the grants that Bonnie got for bridge work and that sort of thing were pretty perfunctory, literally like one page. Like, how long is the bridge that you want to replace? Okay, we'll give you a 60 minute. So your concern is warranted, because this is it's a little bit of
it's an expertise that surely I have none of. But and we did try and get Matt Merritt involved, and I think he's just not able to, even though he's not ready to resign from the group. But I think we need to talk to him seriously, because he can't come to the meetings and he hasn't done much for the grants. We did talk with a woman that Howard introduced me to, this woman, Jane Ugamak. She actually is a grant writer for health service needs. She used to work for UConn for many years, getting health grants and stuff like that. So she reviewed the stuff we did for ARPA and helped us a little bit with that, but she's in the midst of transitioning from working full-time to retiring or something. So
and ARPA is easy, because we've got $2 million.
A little involved, but
so maybe we can get something going.
Yeah, not as involved as LOCSIP or something like that.
No.
Or that other one that we didn't get, which was
the insane. Grant or whatever.
But it's also the BSC is offering to help us look into other grants available. I did have Jeff Fasser went to an informational Zoom meeting on another grant that I heard about, I think from Martha Shoemaker, and he said, this is really for people who have down-and-out communities who need help. So I don't think we count for that. But
ethically, maybe we should.
But, that's the other thing. I am so inexperienced with grants. I thought that if you didn't get a grant in 1 year, you could just put it in the next year. Well, they disappear. Right. So, it's like an ongoing practice to figure this out. So that's something we really are looking for help with.
And it's also, I mean, you can put the cart before the horse, which sometimes has happened in the past with projects here, where we got a grant, and before we knew the cost of the project. Like, you want to know the scope and the cost of the project, and then use the grant to help yourself, not do twice what you thought you needed to do, because the grant then required it.
And we have gotten some ballpark numbers from ESC, which is good. You know, obviously, this is a moving target, too, in terms of what everything costs right now, so it's difficult. But,
Okay, one more question, and then I'm done. How about DOT? I know you...
So that's what this lot chip thing is?
So they have not seen any part of this, correct?
No, that's not correct. They have talked with the BSC about what BSC was doing for our master plan, but they won't, like, review it seriously till they get a full set of drawings, not architectural engineering drawings, but what the lock chip is going to give them is the actual requirement of what we're looking for to build. So it will talk about how many, feet of sidewalk we need and what type of curb stones we want and what kind of, all those details, how many trees, how many lights, all of that. They want to see an actual package that explains the project in those terms, and that's what this grant is for and why BSC is doing it for us. So.
And we're done with BSC now, or almost?
Almost. Yep. I mean, they've been a good partner. They've helped us a lot. I think they may stick around to help us find grants, but, I mean, I don't know how else we're going to get there, so.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a lot more knowledge than, So,
So.
Hey, I'm just curious, so when we do this new overlay, which we've already looked at, from the meeting back in March, we're looking at, improvements with sidewalks, curbing, all this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about drainage? What about environmental impact, foot traffic, especially along Lieutenant River there? Is that included with this study?
Anything that gets done has to comply with the requirements of DOT and inland wetlands and DEP, all of that, it has to comply. So there's...
I'm just wondering with adding sidewalks and then, finding out we just had, 2 inches of rain last night, you find flooding.
Hard surfaces have done something.
Yeah. Do we...
Well, I mean, honestly, I can't answer you for sure everything I know is going to happen, but I do believe that you don't do a project of this size without considering the drainage, the runoff, the perk tests, all of those.
No, is that part of BCO?
That has to be done.
Okay.
But that comes once you get the lock set, then you go and do, a year-long engineering process to make sure that all of that is answered.
Okay.
Does that help?
I'm just curious because
along with all the permitting.
Exactly. Well, that's the biggest part too.
Yeah, I mean,
DOT check off and then everything else that goes along.
Yeah, so it's just a reminder, because everyone's rusty at this point.
Yeah.
But we had the process laid out this is probably November or whatever it was. We've got a master plan that's a rough sketch, and then I think that there were 2 other phases. You've got let's get the LoSiP grant, and then we'll do the more detailed stuff, but that would definitely be part, because there's obviously wetlands.
And there's some parts that are, like the pedestrian bridge is probably not something that DOT would include in their lot SIP because it's not a required roadway need. So there's things like that. These things get split out.
Drainage sits on the road right now, and other impacts just with walkways and stuff like that. Once you start to dig and run lines like for lighting and everything else that would go along with this project.
No, I think it all has to be understood and addressed. I mean, you wouldn't do a project without doing that. So I think it has to happen that way. I think.
So we can. I'll make a motion, and then we can still talk about stuff, during the discussion part. But I'll move that we as a committee share the current design guidelines and draft.
We call it the H-ROD. Halls Road Overlay District.
Yeah, Halls Road Overlay District regulations with the zoning board for their preliminary review and comment.
Yeah.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ray, you there? He's probably talking to us.
He's saying aye on his other meeting.
I'm here.
Okay. Do you say aye to sharing these documents with the zoning commission?
Yes, aye.
Great.
Okay, great.
Great. All right.
Good.
So, any other?
Hey, Edith, it's Mike Ryder. I'm on the phone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
This is.
So we got 6 out of 7.
Oh, is that Matt?
Mike.
Mike.
Mike. Oh, Mike. Hi, Mike.
Okay, Mike. Okay. Great.
Sorry, Mike. I don't know. I probably should turn this up somehow. Is there volume control, maybe? Okay. So, Mike and Ray, do you guys have any other things you'd like to add to the discussion?
No, I think you've covered all the areas that are significant.
Okay.
Good.
I just got here 2 seconds ago, so I'll get caught up as you talk.
Mark.
No, I just thought I heard him say something else.
Was blinking.
No, I thought I heard him say something.
Mike?
Yeah, I thought I heard him say something.
Mike, did you have something to say?
No, I had nothing to say. I was just saying that I have nothing to say.
All right. So we could adjourn. I'll make a motion to adjourn. 7:33.
Cool.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you guys for coming on. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Thank you.
Right.
So we're going to share this with the zoning committee on Monday, and I think after that we might be able to let you see it. I don't know. We'll have to find out what the routine is, but.
That sounds good. Whenever you think it's appropriate.
Okay. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you, Edith.
Take care, guys.